Hello friends, in the last two videos we have analyzed input output analysis and numerical analysis of input output model. Now in this video we are explaining certain important theorems of input output analysis. These are Samuelson's substitution theorem, Hawking-Simon condition, series approximation to the solution. Three important theorems related with input output analysis. These theorems explain some of the salient features of input output analysis, and these theorems makes input output analysis little more clear. First of all, we are moving to Samuelson's substitution theorem. In the input output analysis, we have assumed that the proportion of the inputs usage remains fixed. In the proportionality assumption, we have said that the required input to produce a particular level of output remains fixed. Here in this technological coefficient matrix A11, A12, A21 and A22, the values of A11 and A12, A21 and A22 remains constant. That means these technological coefficient values are constant. It simply means that the inter-industry relationships between various industries are fixed. The inter-industry relationship is fixed. The amount of output required as input from a sector remains fixed. That is, the production function is of fixed proportion. Samuelson has mentioned the possibility of substitution in the real practice, actual practice. Or Samuelson justified the fixity of the proportion. According to Samuelson, the fixed nature of this proportion, input proportion, is not because of the technological considerations, but according to him, it is due to the productive efficiency. By productive efficiency, he means that for every commodity there exists a production proportion of production which is most efficient. For example, if capital and labor are the two inputs used, then there is a fixed capital labor ratio which will yield maximum level of output. Therefore, that capital labor ratio can be treated as the most efficient capital labor ratio, most efficient input ratio, and on the basis of this, we can say that if the input proportions are most efficient, then it is not possible to change it, or it is not necessary to change it. Therefore, according to Samuelson, the fixed nature of input proportions are not due to the fixity of technology, but due to technological efficiency of productive efficiency. Thus, according to Samuelson, the fixity of input proportions is not because of technological considerations, but because of productive efficiency. If we are using the most efficient input proportion for production, then it may not be changed always. This is Samuelson's substitution theorem. Now we are going to explain the Hawking-Simon condition. We know that in order to generate an input-output table, we require data related with input and output. But if the given data are incorrect, then we may lead to errors. the results of the input output table may be with errors. In other words, suppose we are trying to solve a simultaneous equations derived from the table. Initially we have derived various simultaneous equations from the table, and on the basis of that simultaneous equation we can solve the input output problem. Suppose if the input output solution gives us negative values for the output of a commodity, that means the output required to produce a particular level of output by other sector may be negative. That condition is not possible. We cannot generate negative output, or we cannot use negative units of a particular input. In this context, Hawkins-Simon condition can be used to check whether input output data are correct or not. By using the Hawkins-Simon condition, we can check whether there is a proper solution to this problem. Let us explain the condition with an example. Let us assume that there are only two sectors, steel industry and coal industry. We further assume that the output of steel industry is not used by steel industry themselves. Therefore, the output of steel industry is distributed to coal industry and to final demand. Similarly, the output of coal industry is distributed to steel industry and to final demand. Coal industry is also not using their output as input. We can represent this information in an equation. S is equal to alpha C plus Ts. This is the first equation. It means that S is the total output of steel industry that is distributed to alpha C to coal industry, and finally Ts is the final demand for steel. Therefore, total output of steel industry is divided in between coal industry and final demand. The input coefficient alpha is the requirement of steel in coal industry. In the same manner, we can have C is equal to beta S plus Tc. It shows that coal production is divided in between steel industry and final demand. This is the second equation. Now divide equation number 2 with beta. We will get C by beta is equal to S minus Tc by beta. Here we have second term beta S, and if we divide beta S with beta we will get only S. That's why we have got only S here. Therefore, C by beta is equal to S plus Tc by beta. We can rewrite this equation as S is equal to, that means we have moved S to the left side, S is equal to C by beta minus Tc by beta. Or we can write it as S is equal to 1 by beta into C minus 1 by beta into Tc. This is the third equation. Thus we have two demand equation of steel, equation number 1 and equation number 3. That means these two equations shows us the demand equations for steel, and it is clear that these two are linear equations. These equations are linear equations of first degree, and therefore demand for steel should be indicated by a straight line. If the input output solution is feasible, then it involves the intersection of between these two lines, that means S is equal to alpha c plus Ts. Second equation, S is equal to 1 by beta c minus 1 by beta into Tc. These two equations, the lines of these two equations intersect, or the solution takes place in a positive quadrant. In order to have an intersection point in a positive quadrant, the value of 1 by beta, which is the slope of this equation number 3, and the value of alpha, that is the slope of the equation number 1, the value of 1 by beta must be greater than alpha. Once again, in order to have an intersection at the positive quadrant, the value of 1 by beta must be greater than the value of alpha. 1 by beta is the slope of equation number 3 and alpha is the slope of equation number 1. Therefore, 1 by beta is greater than alpha, then definitely we will get a solution at the positive quadrant. It means that the values will be non-negative. If the values are negative, there will be no solution, or it has no validity in case of an input-output table. Therefore, if 1 by beta is greater than alpha, then the values must intersect in a positive quadrant if the slope of the third equation is greater than the slope of the first equation. This is termed as Hawkins-Simon condition. Therefore, we can say that Hawkins-Simon condition is simply showing the non-negativity solution to an input-output problem. If the values are negative, it does not provide us a proper solution. Therefore, the values or input requirements and output must be non-negative. Non-negative means it may be 0, but it must not be negative. This is the Hawkins-Simon condition of input-output analysis. This is simply a mathematical property of straight lines. Next is the series approximation to the solution. In order to explain series approximation to the solution, we can consider an input-output table x11, x12, x13 plus final demand of sector 1, which gives us the total output x1. Similarly, x21, x22, x23 final demand of sector 2 gives us output of sector 2, and x31, x32, x33 plus final demand of sector 3 gives us output of sector 3. Let us assume that first sector is steel, second sector is coal, and third sector is cotton. Here the total output of steel can be calculated from the final demand for steel plus this component of steel in final demand of other goods plus quantity of steel used to produce these final output by coal and cotton. That is, there is a component of steel in this x21, this x22, this x23, and similarly there is a quantity of steel in x11 because they are using their own input here also and here. It means that the total quantity of steel can be measured through a series approximation solution. In other words, we can say that the output of a particular sector is distributed to various sectors not directly but as a series, because in order to produce a particular level, for example x22, for example we consider x22 as a term, in order to produce x22 level of output by the x2 sector, it requires particular amount of steel. Similarly, in order to produce x33, that is a particular level of output by cotton industry, it requires a particular level of steel. Therefore, we need to consider the steel components in all final demand, plus we need to consider the steel component in all other input requirements. Therefore it moves like a series. Thus the steel requirement at different stages of production, that means we need different we can complete the production process by different stages. Therefore in all stages we require particular amount of steel and we need to lock it down. Therefore the total requirement of steel in the entire system can be measured using this equation 1 plus c plus c square plus c cube plus etc etc etc. This equation can be used to measure the entire demand of steel by the system, by the economy, by various production sectors, production stages. This is the series approximation to the solution.